couple weeks ago, I gave a speech on cold calling, and it basically introduced you on calling up a customer and initiating the sale. And it outlines some of the experiences I had in initiating the sale. Now, I'm going to give you, in 12 to 18 minutes, something that probably people take 4 years to perfect. But I don't want to intimidate you by that, because some of you may find yourself, as I speak through this, I've done that before. So you may have half the experiences under your belt, and you just need to acquire more. So I'm going to proceed on the very first issue that is most important to making a sale. It's the buyer-seller relationship. And that has to do with the cold call, the initiation of the sale, and as you know, first impressions are very important. So the first thing of the buyer-seller relationship is how you present yourself when you first meet the buyer and you're selling a product. And you really have to decide how you want to present yourself. Now, like Stephen Jobs, he comes up with, he's like really casual, really mellow, very laid back. And if you're doing business with someone like that, you wouldn't want to come into his office in a three-piece suit. However, if you're working with an IBMer and you're trying to do business with them, you want to dress up in that three-piece suit. Perhaps if you're dealing with someone who's a graphic artist or someone who has a very kind of liberal and open-minded framework in their company, you might show up in sandals. So when you make that first impression, it's very important to know who that client is. And then when you also have to start demonstrating your product, you want to choose, and I'll talk about this later, do you want to do a demonstration? Do you want to just give him facts? Do you want to give him specifications? Or do you want to do question and answer with him? And then you want to also decide how many meetings is this going to take to make the sale. Do I have to fly to New York and back to make that sale? And how many times do I have to do it? You may even find out I'm not going to make that sale, because if I have to go to 6 to 7 meetings with this client, it's not worth the money. And also, before you engage with certain clients, it's very important you understand the official requirements to make the sale. Like Boeing, you have to jump through a series of hoops to do business with them. It may cost you a year time, it may cost you tens of thousands of dollars to build up those requirements to make the sale. So to develop that buyer-seller relationship, you have to make some fundamental choices. They're easy, but fundamental and very important. Also, when you develop a relationship with the buyer, you have to understand what mood he is in when you start developing that relationship. If you are in a situation where it's the end of their business quarter and they're super frantic at the time, and they may need your product, but you're bothering them at the time, you may come off. Your timing when you start that buyer-seller relationship is very fundamentally important. You definitely do not want to get a hold of a buyer when he's possibly going through a financial crisis, or maybe there's certain times of the year that it is inappropriate to approach certain buyers. So you want to make sure your timing is right on for that product. Otherwise, you want to, I guess the timing more is a momentum issue. You want to start the sale at the right time so the momentum keeps going. Okay. So, first of all, you have to get the prospect's needs, and this has to do with the marketing program. Your team at your business has to develop a marketing program to understand what their needs are in the sector you're trying to sell. You have to look at, like, say, the company, the income of their customers. You have to see how much they made last year. If they're public, obviously it's very easy. If they're private, you can find other ways. How bad do they really need your product? You have to go for the people who need the product the most, the low-hanging fruit. Get the other ones later. Or is there political interference in doing the sale? If I'm from Microsoft and I go to Silicon Valley and I get in front of a bunch of Apple users, they're going to throw AIDS in it. Politics are very fundamentally important to understand, and to overcome the politics, you have to understand what you're going through. If I am going to a hostile situation, I better be aware of it to handle it. Politics are always part of sales. So what it is that before you go into finding the prospect's needs, your marketing team and you get together and prepare you for that sale. A lot of salesmen may be too arrogant to think they need to do this, but I think that it's a benefit to have a very strong marketing team to prepare you for that prospect. Then you have to gain the confidence of the prospect. So basically, how do you do that? If he's a big company, my friend who sells software for like Oracle, they say to gain confidence of a company might take 2 years of building. And you have to do case studies, you have to give examples, there's word of mouth, you have to get referrals. They may, vice president of a corporation may say, you know, who have you done business with? And you may have to build relationships with other companies and assure that they will vouch for your credibility. Also, you can build a relationship, build confidence by giving common sense examples. So instead of trying to baffle them with, you know what, you dazzle them with brilliance. You really show them that you are concerned about their needs, and you give them good common sense examples that demonstrate what they're going through and how you're going to solve their problems. And that leads to a very clear vision. You want to really make sure your vision is their vision and it's clear. You also always show up on time. It's better for them, rather to wait on them than them wait on you. You never want to show up late. And that's just a very, very big faux pas that if you do that. Also, use these. Listen very, very carefully. Write everything down they say. And then the next time you meet them, you can bring up the points they talked about, and that's really beneficial if you're trying to gain their confidence. Also, anticipate their objections. Like I said, politically, you're walking into a hostile environment, and next thing you know, an Apple computer geek is going to start to nail you on the Microsoft problems. And you have to get ready for those ends. Have to get ready for basically get to beat up. I mean, it's sometimes like a prize fight. They're going to be throwing punches at you just because some of their workers don't like your product, or they work for your company, or they work with a company that hates your company. It's all this sort of things you have to deal with. And also you have to understand the paranoia and fear of getting ripped off that people have. Maybe you're selling a product that there's a lot of used car salesmen, in quotes, that sell this product, and you have to overcome that paranoia. Remember, think about who you trust and why you trust them. Think about the people that gained your confidence and sold your product and gave you the ability to succeed at something. And those are the types of experience that can teach you how to interact with your customer. Of course, if you're a used car salesman, then forget about that. Also, list all the weaknesses of your product. And the reason is because the weaknesses of a product can be overcome by complementary products from other companies. So say there's a particular sector where your product doesn't perform as well, you can always go to a third party and make sure that in case they question that particular issue, you can say, well, we work with such and such company, and that's how we deal with this problem when you have it. So look at the worst case scenarios of failure for your product, and then attack them by various mechanisms to overcome them when they object to you. Also, have your team at your company, like I would have all of you give me a Q&A and play devil's advocate, and really, you know, like we did that one speech where we had the heckling night. We kind of have a heckling night for the sales rep, and you would play parts like the VP and the CFO and go after him, and really, like a tabletop, is keep him on his toe and make him agile. So this book kind of describes what Microsoft does and some other companies. It's called Solution Selling, and